hello there, Seraphim17 once again. This is my Call of Juarez, Gunslinger, True West difficulty walkthrough. This is Chapter 11, Death Rides a Steel Stallion, and I do apologise about the pause just then, but apparently my sinuses decided to make themselves heard at the back of my damn throat, which is never a fun time when you're trying to publicly speak. Publicly speak, perhaps not the right phrase. Privately speak, I don't really know. Commentate, there you go, to use the parlance of what we're doing here. But this place is quite simple. You're going to see me kill some dudes, shoot people through some pieces of geometry, which is quite nice. I'm a fan of the western wall banging, and just be aware of the shotgun guy. He will kill you so quickly, it's not really fair, but in a game that's difficulty doesn't really spike that often, I guess we need him to remind us that we are vulnerable. And as you can see, we're chasing down Jesse James, and the end of this level is going to be in one of those standoff moments that you saw earlier. And this is me just rushing through the train, doing my thing, shooting dudes, carrying on, getting aggressive. And this is, like, what, the third train mission we've had? And I don't think it's a western unless you've got a healthy dose of train missions. And I'm going to have to shut this window because I can hear some annoying fucking kids making noise. Because the weather right now is really hot, and it's the summer. And it's one of those things where you might be thinking, oh, it's a typical English person's complaining about the weather, which they do regardless what the weather is, because there's nothing else to talk about because it's such a boring country. And you're partially true. The difference being is, I'm not complaining about the weather per se, I'm complaining about my room, and there's a reason for this. When I do these commentaries, I create a kind of like a soundproof zone where I shut my door so there's no outside influences, I shut my windows so there's none of that, and the only thing I have is this sweltering hot box in already summer weather that gets even hotter thanks to the abundance of electrical equipment that I've got on right now allowing me to do this. So it's kind of doubling the heat and making it even more unbearable than it is for a country that doesn't really get that kind of heat, so it's fun times really. And then combine that with the fact that I'm wearing my Gay and Proud hoodie, which I use to dry my hair. And at this moment in time, I kind of feel like I'm cutting weight for a wrestling match or for a fight, which is obviously not true because I don't partake in either of those things. And it's all stemming to the point of me shutting the window. But keep on pushing through the train. This mission is really kind of blasé for me because it's fun, because all you're doing is pushing forward and killing people on a linear path, but at the same time it's not something that we haven't already done, and it's not the most interesting thing to commentate. So instead, I'm going to talk about something different. And I don't really talk about manga much, or manhwa as this is called. I don't really care too much for that word personally, but what a manhwa is a Korean manga. And this has inspired me to mention it because it's probably my favourite manga outside of the ones I haven't read, which I know I would love. And it's called Priest, and it's done by a guy I believe called Min Woo Hyung. It might be, said a different way in his native tongue, I'm not too sure, and you get to that part of the world, formalities in speech and things always confuse names. But this is a guy who made 17 editions, I think there's like 17 volumes of a fantastic Western themed kind of post-apocalyptic, biblical, just awesome action fest of a manga. And I collected them avidly, and the very first episode is on a train, like this one. And it's in Western times, so there's horses, there's pistols, there's shotguns and stuff, and the train gets robbed. And on this train is this priest. His name is Ivan Isaacs, and he's a little different to your standard priest, and everything kind of blows up from that moment on. And I was really passionate about this manga. I was in love with it, and I still kind of am, but the last edition was about 10 years ago. And I went from buying them on release every time they were released to waiting and never getting. And it's on an indefinite hiatus at this moment in time. And the really frustrating part about it is not only is it unfinished, but the guy who makes it has started another series, the motherfucker. So it's just that long lost love where every so often I'll be reminded of how much I used to love this particular thing and how I never got conclusion or any kind of resolution because it never ended. And there's always the hope that once he finishes this new series he'll go back to it, but he's not even finished one fucking series yet, so who's to say he's going to finish this one? Like, it's so frustrating because his art style is really line based, really minimalist and messy, but awesome. It's such a cool art style. It's a really good story too. And it's mature, it's interesting, it's violent, it's really good, and I've just reminded myself of it, so I thought I'd share it. And I'm frustrated again because it fucking blows that I can't get this thing completed. But if anybody's wondered, you know, what ones have I read or do I read, that is one of my top. So if you want to check that out, feel free. I'm sure there's scans or you can buy it or whatever you want to do. It's just such a good thing, and it never ended, and it always makes me sad. And did you see that just then when I was looking through the gap in the wood to try and cheese some people out here? The geometry wasn't loaded, the world just wasn't there. Because games work on a principle that they only render what needs to be rendered, what's in the immediate vicinity, most of them. And that was having none of my bullshit as I was trying to be cheeky. But continue down the train, doing your thing, climb on its roof. I believe you've got to spin around here to jump past these stacks. Yeah, it's all simple. This is not a game that's really going to make you struggle on where you need to go. Every so often they do throw a curveball at you, which is definitely appreciated for me. But I was reading something the other day. My girlfriend told me about it, so I decided to do a little checking out to get some further information. And it's about good old Shia Sugarpuffs, as I call him, which is Shia LaBeouf, the dude from Transformers, the guy who will forever now be typecast as the Michael J. Fox of films, because he'll look forever young even when he's 90, and he kind of does the same type of character in every film he plays. Well, he's about to dismiss that accusation now with his next film, which is going to be called, I think it's called Nymphomaniac, or something to do with sex addiction, or sex mania, or the lust and philia of sex. And it's controversial because his girlfriend split up with him, and she split up with him because he has agreed via his contract to do an unsimulated sex scene, which, if you're not aware of that term, that is literally having sex on film, which a lot of you might be thinking, well, isn't that pornography? And it's a very interesting subject. And my first feelings about this is it's extremely selfish for him to do this, and I do feel for his girlfriend, but I don't know this person or his girlfriend, so I'm not really going to adhere to say that I can, think for him or judge him based on his decisions, because who knows. What I do know is my perspective on the concept of showing intercourse or having sex on set for the basis of a story, for telling a narrative. And the contrarian and part of my body that dislikes authority, that dislikes all these ridiculous standards, principles and ideals that were created a very long time ago and refuse to be updated, even though technology and our knowledge of everything from science to nature to our own anatomy changes, that part of me that completely hates that and hates the vanity and the repression that we're all forced under because of society standards thinks, what the hell is wrong with it? It's the most natural thing you can do. We were essentially wired from a biological standpoint to reproduce and replicate. That is our function. That is us performing what we were designed to do. And I don't really see anything like it. I hate, as mentioned, repression. I hate this notion that people have to cover their bodies up, that the people's bodies, naked body, the naked image of a human is a bad thing, is something that is supposed to be scorned, is something that is unclean. I think that's, if anything, it's more religious prejudice than anything else, and these ideals that old men, very ignorant old men, made a very long time ago when women had vastly different rights to what they do today. But then the other side of me thinks, why the fuck does this film have to have full-on sex for it to convey some kind of cinematic edge? And I'm all for pushing boundaries, but this just seems like it's intentionally trying to be provocative, that it's going out of its way to push a boundary for the sake of pushing a boundary and not necessarily making a statement of any kind. And we do live in a fucking neutered society, people, for this to even have such an effect on us as it does, but that's unfortunate because that's the way we're conditioned to be. And it's just this feeling of, the guy who's doing it is Lars von Trier, and as soon as I saw the director's name, I knew who the fuck it was, because he's the same guy that irritated me on Antichrist, and I'm just thinking, Lars, either you're doing something profound and important that's going to move us on in the future of filmmaking to get us over this hump of sheer embarrassment towards our own sexual nature, or it's just this big elaborate hoax that you can get all these really expensive and popular actors to get the dick out. Like, what the fuck is this guy doing? Seriously, it's so strange, because I'd have to see it to see if it has any bearing, and it's just this cognitive dissonance within myself where I think that this should be the least of our worries, but at the same time, it's such a strange thing, because we've put out this almost this universal stature of pornography is a bad thing when it comes to the professional work industry. Like, if you do pornography, as dark as it sounds, you're kind of fucked when it comes to any other job, any other respectable position, because you'll be judged on it the very same way you're judged on drug addiction or on criminal records. And even though these companies say that you're not, you are. And it's one of those things where when you do porn, you kind of stain yourself. And where is the distinction at this line? Because I've always argued against people who view pornography as this obscene thing, as this bad thing, as this cur. And it's this thing of, where do they draw the line then? Because the definitions of pornography are very, very specific and ambiguous, almost ubiquitous, because I think one senator's definition of pornography was anything with no artistic merit that stimulates sexual thought. Like, I can get a hard-on on a bus looking through a window at nothing, so that's a sexual thought. What stimulated that? The bus itself, the glass, the window, the fat guy in his vest walking past. Like, it's so interpretive and weird. But is Lars von Trier just going too far and being a douche, or is this actually really valuable to filmmaking? Because I can't make heads or tails of it just yet, and I'm kind of looking forward to the film to see if he does it justice, but at the same time, so fucking weird. But there you go, folks, there's a discussion for you. Discuss.